Hello again, everybody, and welcome to You Bet CaneSport with Lee Sterling, our weekly look at the Miami Hurricanes from the bettor's perspective. I'm Gary Furman, the publisher of CaneSport.com, with Lee Sterling himself. And Lee, I'm looking forward to this show more than one of our shows in a very long time, and I'm gonna tell you why. I've analyzed this game from every angle. I don't feel like I have a clue what is going to happen out there on Saturday night. I don't feel I have a clue what the Miami Hurricanes are after 2 weeks, and I certainly don't feel like I have a clue what Texas A&M is the way they've played the first 2 weeks, losing in week 2 to Appalachian State. So now here we are. We got this big game, national TV, week 3. It's the signature non-conference game on the Miami schedule. We will be getting on a plane on Friday and going to Texas. There will be a game on Saturday night. I am counting on you, my man, to lay it out there for us and let us know what's going to happen. Let's start with the point spread. Where is the point spread settling? It's been bouncing around so much.
Right. So it started off when the point spreads came out, like in May and June, at like 7.5 and 8. It was pretty solid 7.5 until last week. And as soon as Texas A&M lost, I'm like, I know it's going to go below 7. I thought it was going to be 6, which I texted you. You said, where's the line? And it did open at 6, and it's down to 5.5, even 5. So little surprising that it's dipped this low, but I think for good reason. I think people are doubting Texas A&M, and that's the great thing about college football. You know, we could see Miami go out there and just punish Texas A&M, or, you know, Texas A&M with their backs against the wall, must-win game. They lose this game, their season's over. They could come to play and play up to their potential. That's what makes it so great. I love the chess match, but I'll point out some things, both sides, that I think might happen and the way they will attack each other. So I am hearing, I don't know if you've heard this, Max Johnson split snaps at practice yesterday. Did you hear that?
I think he's going to end up being the starter. We'll see.
Right. Okay. So I thought he should have been the starter. And I think that Jimbo just fell in love with Haynes King, and he can't get off him yet. I think he's gonna start Haynes King, and then if things go wrong after, I think as early as 2 series, he might bring in Max Johnson. I watched the spring game. I watched Max Johnson last year. I thought he was the better option. He's the more accurate passer. He reads defenses better, and his running is actually underrated. So I want Haynes King in there if I have my pick against the 2. Didn't like him the spring game. Think he stares down receivers. Thinks that he doesn't read defenses real well. So what can Jimbo Fisher do to make things easier on him and give him the best chance to succeed? One is he can use motion. That way he can read whether Miami's in a zone or not easier. And he hasn't done much of it this year. In fact, they didn't get off many plays in their game last week against Appalachian State. Appalachian State surprisingly just bullied them at the line of scrimmage and ran the ball and controlled the ball for, I think it was over 40 of the 60 minutes.
It's 38 plays.
Yeah, crazy. I don't know if you'll see that happen, but 2 or 3 times the rest of the season.
Oh, I agree.
Now,
yeah, crazy.
I think that they will also probably do some hurry up. And I like hurry up. If I'm a coach and I have the more talent, I felt like Miami in some of the years when they were playing some of these other teams should have gone to hurry up, because more possessions, usually the team with the most talent wins. So, you know, I think that you might see some of that. So I expect to see Max Johnson if things go wrong or if they fall behind by double digits at any point in time in this game. I thought that Texas A&M was overrated. I do think they have talent. They shouldn't have been ranked 6th. Notre Dame shouldn't have been ranked 5th. But, you know, they're basing it on talent, coaching, history. I just think that Miami, for them to have by far the greatest chance, and I'm like, you know, obviously when you're leading, I think Miami needs to strike first. Miami can't play from behind. You and I have been on the road so many times, like at Nebraska, all these other games. And when you're behind by 7 or 10 points, you're always in a catch-up mode. Throw the ball usually more than you'd like. I think that Miami, if it has any plays, and I'm entrusting in their new offensive coordinator, who I like a lot, they've saved some stuff, and they're going to try to get up top and put the pressure on A&M, and they'll doubt themselves. But I think maybe the biggest problem I have here is I still don't trust the defense of Miami. Don't trust their linebackers. They have looked better. Steed and Flagg have looked better. And also the cornerbacks. We keep hearing about DJ Ivey is so much better. There's a couple plays here and there. I still see more shades from last year. And then also to Corey Couch also does not look like the player they're talking about in the fall camp. So I don't think they're going to test Stevenson much. I think they're going to try to test the linebackers rolling out one way, play action, and throwing back the other way. Miami's linebackers have had trouble there. And I think I would have obviously liked Texas A&M to come in overrated and high on themselves and have all these problems in this game instead of the last game. I think Texas A&M is going to run the ball on Miami some, and I just think you're going to see a different Texas A&M team. I'm not giving out the game. I'm not betting the game, but I think Miami will try to come back late in the game and tie it up or take the lead. I can see A&M with a 26-20 or 27-20 lead, and Miami getting the ball with one last chance to win it or tie it up. For that reason, a very slight lean to Texas A&M, but it wouldn't shock me if Miami wins the game outright.
Haynes King first. My feeling is that he absolutely would replace Haynes King, except for one thing. When he looks at Miami film and has been looking at Miami film, he sees that quarterbacks typically have a lot of success running against Miami and did earlier this year. And you might be right. I initially said, oh, he's definitely changing quarterbacks. There's no way he's going down with the same thing. But then I watched a little more game tape, and I thought about it a little bit more, and it makes sense to me that he's splitting reps in practice, because I think he's going to want his options open throughout the entire ball game. And I think the one thing that might keep Haynes King in there and give him the first shot is the fact that he's a better runner than Max Johnson.
But Max Johnson is underrated as a runner.
Is he?
Put your tape in and watch him from last year. Watch the spring game. Underrated, faster than you think, and makes good decisions running. So don't underestimate Johnson's running.
And, the other thing you mentioned is the cornerbacks. And I totally agree with you. I think there's practice DJ Ivey, which usually works pretty well. And then there's game day DJ Ivey, which usually does not work very well. And I don't understand why, but that's just the way it's been for many, many years now.
There's also guys, believe it or not, Gary, there's guys that don't practice well and play well in games. So
right,
it's an interesting dynamic. But, he certainly fits that bill.
But, there's things to be concerned about here. You got a lot of speed on the outside for Texas A&M. Miami's corners are not that fast. Even Tyreek Stevenson doesn't have elite speed. He has better than you think he has speed. But, if you're going to take one of these guys, these guys that are putting up these great 100-yard dash times and things like that, and think that Miami's corners are going to win a foot race against them, it's not going to happen. So I think that's a concern, speed at the cornerback position for Miami. The thing that I'm really concerned about, Lee, and I wanted you to talk about, is the trend of a good team that gets embarrassed, has a bad game, how usually they come back, they rally the troops, and they play way better the next week, especially when they are at home, especially when they are home at night under the lights. Okay. Right. Talk to us about that.
Well, there's some other things, like, for instance, like teams that fire their coach. Like, don't be shocked if Nebraska keeps it close or upsets Oklahoma. Guys are playing for playing time there. In this game, it's just a natural phenomenon. It's just, you look at how people react. If you study people, you're a psychologist, psychiatrist, people perform better a lot of times off one of their poorest performances. And I think that's what Texas A&M had. I don't know if Appalachian State was that great or the fact that maybe they overlooked them. I think it was a combination of the two.
I think there were a few fumbles. I think there was a missed field goal.
Right.
There's a lot of things that happened in that game.
I think that Miami and Texas A&M, and I think I told a couple people this early in the year, even before the season, from now until maybe week 8 or week 9, I think you might see, I wouldn't say elite teams, but the teams might grow more than any other team. Texas A&M's defensive line, they got almost all 5-stars. They're freshmen and sophomores. By the time they get to week 8, I always felt that Miami was in an advantage playing them early with King having such little experience in that defensive line. So, the only thing that we didn't expect was Appalachian State knocking them off. So now I think we're going to see probably their best effort in probably the first 5 or 6 games. That's what I'm afraid of. So, you'll be like, I think we're going to maybe be sitting there in the stadium and saying, how is Texas A&M running all over us when they couldn't run on App State and they had trouble running against Sam Houston. So it's like certain players, certain teams backed against the wall, they get that superhuman strength. How do people, when someone's trapped under a car by themselves, lift up 2,000-3,000 pounds? It's one of those things. I played at a pretty high level in high school and in college, and I've seen it happen before. You've watched enough games, and we've watched games. It's a bad setup for Miami unless Miami, I think, can get up top early. And if they do, then A&M might crumble. I mean, there's a scenario where Miami could win this game by 20, 24 points. If A&M falls behind and they throw a couple interceptions, if Miami gets up by 13, 14 points, I think they win the game easy.
Any other angles that you're looking at as you analyze this game?
It'll be interesting to watch both of our coordinators, and we've been vanilla on offense and defense. Do we run a couple trick plays? Do we show some formations that we haven't shown? I'd like to see, I think another key might be Will Mallory. I think we need him playing at a high level to win this game, catching balls in the team. I'm not talking about 5 and outs. If he has some success, then they can't double the outside guys. If he has success, then, their linebacker is going to drop deeper, and our running backs out of the backfield, I think catching the ball will have some success. That's another key, but I think it's going to be fun. I think we're going to be able to measure for the first time really how good we are in a hostile environment. And I'm hoping Mario plays it like he did against Ohio State. He goes in there and plays aggressive, and that's what we want to see. We don't want to see, vanilla and falling behind like we've done so many times on the road. I think, maybe the expectations will go through the roof if we win on the road, but so be it. I think that the talent level will eventually catch up with the expectations.
Oregon at Ohio State last year put up a lot of offense. They played a great game and obviously beat them in Columbus. So Mario Cristobal knows how to do this. He's done it as a head coach. He's done it as an assistant at Alabama.
And trust me, Josh Gaddis has been preparing for this game. He probably started looking at tapes in the summer. I know how coaches do it.
There's no question about it. Yeah,
right. I mean, he wasn't watching. He wasn't looking at Southern Miss tapes, and I mean, it was hot at that game last week. It was 12 noon game. Southern Miss had all, they were fired up. I mean, those kids playing in an NFL stadium, they're ready to go. We're maybe looking ahead a little bit, but I think Josh Gaddis, if you watch the games that he coached last year, I was telling people all season last year, this guy is really good. Down the stretch, the games he coached against Ohio State when Ohio State was playing like a fullback as a linebacker late in the year in that game, he went at him. There's one, I think he went 4 or 5 straight plays at him one time running the football. So when he spots a weakness, he knows how to exploit it. And then he followed it up. It wasn't a one-hit wonder. They beat Ohio State, and he coached a marvelous game when they were playing Iowa the next week. Now, obviously, they went up against it in the semifinal game, but love to see what our coordinators can do and our players can do. So, and I've never been to College Station, been to a lot of great venues. I'm excited to see, what they have to offer. I haven't heard great things about the city, but
the city's not much, but it is a great venue.
Right.
I think Josh Gaddis found some weaknesses because he was putting in some new schemes this week from what I have. So
that's what I think.
So it's going to be interesting. All right. So you're not giving this game to your clients?
No, definitely
Why?
not.
Why aren't you?
There's 70, 80 games on the schedule. I'm trying to make money from my clients, and just because it's one of the 5 or 6 feature games doesn't mean I'm going to give it to my clients. I mean, there's going to be some games down the road where I have a real strong feel. Just the first 3, I haven't had a strong feel. We won the first one. We probably should have had the cover last week in the Southern Miss game if we would have started a little bit quicker. Just think there's better situational plays for my clients. So if I picked Miami all the time the last 20 years, Gary, I'd be living under a bridge.
I wasn't suggesting that you should pick Miami. Yeah. I want to hear your real pick. Yeah. But I find it interesting that you're not giving it to your clients, whatever your pick is, and you haven't told us yet, because I can't figure this game out either. And
I'm not playing the game. I'm not playing the game for my clients.
I've been doing shows this week. I've been asked by a lot of people, what do I think? What's going to happen? Yeah. And I usually have an opinion. I'm an opinionated person. Yeah. I don't have an opinion on this game. Right. I just see so many different ways it could go, so many variables. But you, Lee Sterling, we are putting you on the spot right now. We're not your clients,
right?
So it's not the same kind of pressure. But 5.5, Texas A&M is the favorite. Which side you lining up on?
Texas A&M. I think they win and cover 26-20 or 27-20.
Interesting. And like so many Cane supporters, you're going to be there. You're making the trip. And before the season, people always say, how many games is Miami going to win this year? And I said 9 before the season. I think you said 10. This was one of the ones that I thought at this point, this early in the season, with all the newness, with the roster still not being right, with there not being an explosive playmaker or enough of them on this team that makes a difference in a game like this. Right. This was one of the spots where I thought Miami is going to have a hard time getting out of here. Now,
right, we don't have the playmakers. So how do you make up for playmakers? Schemes.
Correct.
So
correct. And this is where this $8-9 million coaching staff that Mario Cristobal has put together, if Miami wins this game, it will be because they earn their money. And I think we are going to see some serious scheming out there on Saturday, because I think they know that, and I think that they have been grinding on this game for months. And I think the 2 coordinators are going to be ready for this challenge, and I'm looking forward to see how it turns out. And but I can't make a prediction on the game. It's Texas A&M has shown up worse than I thought they would.
Right.
Miami's been about what you would expect, but we're not seeing a lot of downfield passing, a lot of explosion. Jalen Knighton hasn't really been worked in yet. He's probably the guy that's most capable of explosive plays. So we'll see how this plays out. Lee, any other games real quick that you really like that you want to tell us about?
SEC, I like Mississippi State playing LSU in Baton Rouge. I think Mississippi State's a really good, solid team. And usually I don't talk about Mississippi State and a team coached, by the Pirate being a sound fundamental team. But except for kicker, they're solid. They don't beat themselves. They usually, in years past, when he coached at Texas Tech and Washington State, they were usually more penalized their opponent. Not this year. I love their quarterback, Rodgers. Think that he just stands in there and reads defenses and delivers the football. And I don't think LSU has a quarterback. The kid that they got from Arizona State just runs around like a chicken with his head cut off. And think there's some problems going on. Their star receiver, I don't know if he's going to go in the transfer portal or what's going to happen there, but he took himself off everything with LSU related off his social media. So I think there's a lot of problems going on there with with the LSU program. So we'll take Mississippi State, lay the 2 on the road. I think they get the win there.
All right, Lee. Well, I hope you have a great flight. I'm looking forward to checking you out at this tailgate that you've been counting me on for weeks and weeks and weeks with the Texan that makes his own barbecue sauce and throws a great tailgate. And then it'll be game time, and it'll be very interesting to see how this one plays out. And we'll talk about it quite a bit next week. So tell us real quick, Paramount Sports, 1-800-400-9741. If anybody wants to reach you there, you will answer the phone, usually yourself, and anything special you'd like to tell them this week?
I have a promotion where you don't have to sign up for a month or the season. It's called the Baker's Dozen. 13 games Saturday and Sunday. So you're going to be watching games all weekend and never been with me before. Great way to give me a shot. And it's an instant download. You don't have to call back on Saturday and Sunday and get the games. As soon as you purchase, the window pops open with all 13 games. Just $97. Love to have you aboard. ParamountSports.com, or call me here. The number right below the screen, 800-400-9741.
All right, Lee, we'll check in with you again next week. For Lee Sterling, I'm Gary Furman. Thank you for joining us on You Bet CaneSport with Lee Sterling. Enjoy the game Saturday, everybody.